So, I've made several videos about the subject that are more in depth, but this is more of a kind of a compilation video about how to make dating apps maybe better overall. Well, my first idea is to make sure that all dating apps must have an actual convo starter in the profiles. And I think this will improve the actual experience and stop people from just saying salad conversation in the beginning, knowing when to swipe right or left, or just basing on who they match on just looks. And these conversation starts could be interests, but it mean that the buyer has to say certain things, and not just be a random line and stuff like that. And I think this is also a big problem with in-person dating and stuff, is that people really don't start with based on them having similarities or stuff like that. It's just, oh hey, you look good, and so on and so on. So I think this is also a problem in the real world. And maybe we have reviewers go over every dating profile and make sure there actually is stuff to actually talk about. Another thing that might help a lot is that all the bios have to be minimum length and actually be and that way it actually becomes substantive and can't just be quotes. Like there often are just quotes. With yay, yay, then 10 people copy the same quotes or the same kind of joke. Another thing could be that all of them have to have an automatic icebreaker within. And this automatic icebreaker makes sure that people, sorry, I've already talked about that with one and two. With the auto icebreaker, what I really mean is that maybe there's an algorithm that looks at your thing and figures out an auto icebreaker, such as asking both of you a question, showing you maybe a news article or an article about something going on to break the ice, saying something to both of you, and that this just brings in something to break the ice or says that you both have this in common. Another idea is that after every match and after a certain period, you rate your match and this match to somewhat random extent, and therefore can learn better what was a good match based on actually when you start talking to each other, not just trying to match you quickly up together. So it looks much more compatibility that way. Or that gives you the option to wait a certain time afterwards, certain matches. So it's either automatically ask you or both, or not automatically ask you, you do it. Another idea I proposed in the past is to automatically is that you tag photos of people and you caption them. And this is an idea to train it so it can learn what photos mean and stuff like that and better match people. But in the future, then the AI might be able to learn what people commonly tag in photos and stuff and start auto tagging and analyzing photos for compatibility based on this, which is much more easy than trying to just analyze photos in general because you give you information about what to actually judge in the photo. It just doesn't look at photos and sees that, hey, this person is in. It's hard to tell it if we don't train it for to identify things. Like if it identifies a lot of cars in photos and two people, there might be a lot of, it might turn out these two people are car people also be, and that increases the compatibility. If you try to train it just without figuring out what cars are first, it'll be just like these photos look totally different because maybe it's the cars in different positions or the cars are totally different types of cars. And I'll recognize that these are both cars and people interested in cars are more likely to be interested in cars themselves. So it gives it a little more insight into what people actually look in photos and to look into those things. Another idea I proposed in the past is a multi-level AI, I'm going to call it. But this is an idea of having an AI algorithm that you have this big general AI algorithm that then takes in data from little neural networks. So you have like a hierarchy of neural networks or AIs that send data between back and forth and sometimes mix it up. And the bigger ones handle more people, more data, and then less likely to, the more likely to generalize, the more likely not become overfitted, which is when they just look at like two people or a few people, then just draw too big of a conclusions from a small sample. So there's bigger sample, but then they can't find these very minute small patterns. And that's where the small neural networks come in. The small neural networks also can compress a lot of data and send it to bigger networks to make the whole thing work better. And there's ways I've talked about much more depth in the past about all this, and you can also switch up the data so that one network trains on you for a while and your peers, and then it moves on to different peers. And that way it's moving and becomes much more dynamic and stops, and more likely that it can keep learning and getting better without revealing as much information. And you can also use AI to compress data to let mean it's less, so only relevant data in certain formats is there, so it can be manipulated more easily by algorithms or for security reasons. Another idea I have is that instead of getting people all together, once it makes a group of 5 or so, let's say 10 people, and I'm simplifying it, 5 people in that group, it is twice the maximum likelihood that most people in the group end up in a couple. But because it's a group and you don't know who you actually matched with in the group, you feel less nervous and stuff, and you became less in a dating manner, more like, I'm trying to make friends. And people try to break the ice more. It's like a group dating thing. And also, you might increase safety because you're in numbers. Beyond increasing safety because you're in numbers, it might also be led for more polyamorous relationships or more complex relationships. And it also may not have to be as good at guessing who you are because it gives you more options. Another idea is that there's built-in activities in these apps to help break the ice, also to help you come together, but also to maybe also data collection, but that's always a little sketchy. We need some data to make stuff work. Another final kind of idea to put out there is that we have the whole thing, so it has what one can call hidden info. By hidden info, I mean you can put in stuff like I'm Jewish or I am this height or something, and it doesn't tell anyone else that info, but it uses it to help find matches, and it instead stores it. And that way, if you're embarrassed or do not want to display that off that, it keeps that. And that way also, if the info is hidden, it might be less overwhelming for people to look at your profile. Well, the actual algorithm can have more stuff to work with. It's not overwhelmed in the same way. Well, thank you very much for listening. Please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers in a year and 4,000 watch hours, which is really hard. Really help, I think, and do it. Again, thank you much. Goodbye.